Good morning. We know from our playlist that young union boy and girl who are on strike aren't fighting for the things they think they're fighting for. So let's continue. If you notice on our thumbnail that there's a picture of a clenched fist. If you have a moment, go on to YouTube and type in images of that clenched fist and you realize it's an icon of the Communist Party, the Communist Revolution. You'll also notice that it's an icon of unions. Workers of the world unite, and that includes such things as the International Teamsters Union. You'll see how many unions are parading on the May Day parade, which is a celebration of communism. Go back to the 1970s now, when we had a revolution in this country, and you realize that among other things that happened, they had opened up markets from China. It's the first time that China could sell anything abroad, including the United States. You'll also realize that they had made the entire country all wear the same clothes. They literally made slaves out of everybody. They simply worked people in the factories till they burnt out and threw them away and got other people there. Communism is the prima donna intellectuals government, it's the Ivy League government. It is a very distinct peasant and property class society. In fact, that's what the upper class call themselves, a class of the intelligent people, the intelligentsia. And everybody else is a class of the proletariat or some such name, and they simply do all the producing so that the intelligent people can do all the consuming. They don't present themselves that way at all, do they? They present themselves as a class for the working class, an ideology of the working class. It couldn't be farther from the truth. And there's a very distinct, they don't lie, they just don't tell the truth. They hustle an awful lot. Let's come back to today and we'll have a sense of categories. Instead of union and management, we'll rearrange things along the lines of the classic battle of good and evil, where people who hustle, con, manipulate, and intimidate people are on one side, and people who are the American Yank, who choose to be normal and well-adjusted as well as a person can be. And then you choose to be perhaps a good husband or wife, and then a good father and mother, and you choose to be a good citizen and make money for other people. They're on this side. That's actually a God and country thing. It's actually a Catholic thing. It comes out of popes and monks and monasteries. I allow myself a bit of a ribbing. I tell myself, oh, well, I'm a philosophical fancy pants, and now that that's settled, I'm an average Joe, and let's go to work. Let's go back to that upper class, and we'll go back to the 1970s and realize that then there was a distinct choice between a soldered connection between money and malice. You could either be malicious and cash in on it all, or be virtuous and get onto a maintenance level. They just chose to cash in on it all. You'll also notice that there's a distinct line going all the way up to today, and you realize that the same people who were rioting then are now heads of the institutions in our society, whether it's government or big business or union leaders. Those union leaders are not your buddies. In fact, it doesn't have to be union or management. It could be race. If you're living in a housing project in Chicago or Philadelphia, the leaders of the civil rights movement are not your buddies. It could be by gender. The women's liberation movement didn't enter the workplace at all. They became professional consumers. They insisted, however, that you spend your life putting your child in a daycare center and going to work in the factories. They cash in on your producing. Let's start to end this anecdote. You have to first have a sense of original sin. You have to be taught that. Then you have to choose to be a Yank. And once you do, everything changes. You couldn't possibly be bossy enough. You just have to step forward and start being bossy. If you're that young gal with a teenager to raise, you don't ask that teenager to go out and work in order to help pay the gas bill. And you have a 2-year-old, you don't present her with a bill for your services. You do just the opposite. You insist, if you're a Yank, motherhood is being a housewife, a common housewife, is considered a profession. And that includes the house and it includes the family budget. You just tell them to fork over the family budget and get out of your way. It's for you to go out and decide those sorts of things. It's for you to do the producing. And if you're going to do the producing, then it's for you to go and play in that silly tennis tournament they have every year. The gal who changes the dirty diapers gets the sex. If you get a little older, it's for you to go to the city planning department and decide how the city is going to be built and that sort of thing. And so it's up to you to just start complaining about this. If there's going to be any reparations around here, it goes towards you. Notice when they say it, it's just hustling. And if you say it this way, it's what you should be doing. From the point of view of the guy, I have a pamphlet from the 1930s in the other room. It's from a Catholic priest, and he's screaming from the pages, unionizing is a good thing, but you don't know what you're fighting for. You don't fight for communism. You don't want to work in a communist factory, and you're finding that out the hard way. So you have to insist that if you're going to come across with a bicycle for a junior, that you make enough money to support a wife and 2.2 children. You make enough money to buy a house. You don't rent property to other people. You don't rent property from other people. And it's for you to play in that silly tournament they have every year. The motto of the American Yank, to be first in line at the courthouse to plead guilty to the paternity suit. Well, let's start to end this anecdote. We know exactly what's wrong, what to do about it, and how to do it. And the first stage is to get you to join this gang in the playground. You're going to have to speak up and start joining the gang in the playground. We'll see you on the next anecdote.